Hello guys, let me give you some advice on attracting women. Show them your video game magazine collection. And also wear a shirt like this. Cool, the Dreamcast is coming out soon. Hello everybody, I've overdid it again. Today I'm going to give you a deep look at my video game magazine collection. I'm going to tell you how I acquired it, what I do with it, and why I might get rid of it one day. But first, let me show you the two places I normally have this collection stored. There's two closets in this bedroom, and the top shelf of each one of them is full of magazines. And it's only about 70% of my whole entire collection. You probably can't tell from there, but this bottom shelf is actually bending in the middle from the weight of all these magazines. There's also a lot of dust on the top of the stacks. So I'll have to de-dust these as I get them out to show you. This closet isn't quite as full, but there's still quite a lot in here. I have an old Magic the Gathering box as well. I used to play that a lot. Yeah, this shelf is very unstable from the weight of the magazines. There's also some magazines outside the closet that I didn't have room to store in the closets. So here's another room with my game collection in it, and behind these shelves here is a closet which has even more magazines. So I'm going to bring those out. But first, let me take you back there and show you what it looks like. So back here, I have a lot of games and stuff laying on these shelves, which are in a closet. And on the top, I have stacks of magazines. My Toad amiibo guards it. I never intended to have this many, but I did intend to collect every single Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine. Starting right there and going this way on the outer edge is every issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly ever. I'll explain in a few minutes why I like it. In acquiring that, I ended up getting a lot of extras. When you're collecting every issue of a magazine collection, you end up getting a lot of doubles and a lot of other magazines along with it because you tend to buy lots. And that's what I did off eBay and some other places. Some of these are the original magazines I had growing up because I subscribed to EGM. Also, I came across a collector on Craigslist and he had a ton of gaming magazines, including EGMs, which I was after. I went to his house and basically filled the trunk of my car. There must have been 200 of them or so. It wasn't just EGMs though, it was a lot of other magazines that you see around me. And also a large chunk of this collection came from one of my friends. He was moving like a year or two ago. I totally have a lot of friends. Facebook says I have 10. And he was a magazine collector too, but he didn't want to lug the magazines to his new house. He wanted to put them into my possession, and that's what he did. He gave me about 200 or 300. So let's take a closer look at what I have. Here's 2 stacks of Nintendo Power, including the very first issue. I subscribed to this within the first year of its life, and some of these are actually mine from back then. I love this spread in the first issue about Contra. As a kid, I used to drool over screenshots like this one, and this one. This letter to the editor cracks me up. I've read that Howard Phillips has close to 300 games for the NES. I would like to know if it's possible for you to send me some of the names of the games he has. That person was really amazed by having 300 games. Of course, nowadays with hardcore collecting, that 300 is not that big of an amount anymore, but back then it was monstrous. And look at that beautiful map of Zelda. A lot of the magazines I had growing up have the posters torn out of them, and as you can see right here, I did not really do this one successfully. I see where I even wrote the name of one of the towns right there. This is a map of Zelda too, by the way. This issue has a list of all the Nintendo games. I wrote a rating next to some of these games, and I gave The Adventures of Bayou Billy a 6. This all would have been in 1989. My friend has some from around 2003. And during that time, when you stacked them together, it formed little pictures on the binding. Here's one issue of Nintendo Fun Club News from 1988. And I used to subscribe to this as well, but I lost most of my issues. Look at these little costumes people made. Here's what people say are their top 5 games. The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Bros., Metroid, Kid Icarus, and Punch-Out. That is a very good list, even today. Here's a small collection of Sega's own magazine, Sega Visions, which is pretty much the equivalent to Nintendo Power just for Sega. These are from 1991, 1992. I thought these were excellent looking magazines on the inside. Everything was just very vivid looking, and the text was easy to read. Here's one big problem with my collection is the covers are missing for quite a few magazines. Nice little stain there too. Thunder Force 3 layout. And here's the official Dreamcast magazine. I only have 4 of them, but I do have the very first issue right here. A lot of these came with demos. Normally they were $8, so it was quite a bargain to get a demo along with your magazine. Just like Sega Visions, these look remarkable on the inside. It really got you excited about the Dreamcast. And this is Game Informer, which is 2008, 2009-ish. This is a time where these magazines had to compete with the internet. As a result, I think they had to make everything very, very small font, just so they can cram a lot of information in there. I almost need a magnifying glass to read this. Here's the official Xbox magazine. Most of these are from around 2008. I've never sat down and read any of these because I was never a big Xbox fan compared to other companies, but I may dive into these someday. Here's Next Generation magazine, which was later shortened to just Next Gen. Some of these are from the late 90s and some of them are from the early 2000s. These look like they're done very well. And here's the GamePros, and I have quite a lot of these. I was never big on GamePro, but I would occasionally buy some of the issues. Some of these earlier ones, like this one, it's definitely from when I originally bought it. This one from 1998, I know it was me because it's a Kroger paid sticker. I used to work at Kroger and I would read these on break. In order to take it to the break room, I would have to pay for it and put a paid sticker on the front of it just so they know I didn't steal it. But yeah, that's what I was doing in 1998, reading about Mortal Kombat 4. I was never a big fan of their rating system, which was a scale from 1 to 5 with a bunch of faces representing the different numbers. I just didn't get much out of that. And I have one issue of Swap Pro. Is that related to GamePro? I'm not sure. I only have 2 Game Fan magazines, and I have 2 video games and computer entertainment, December 1989 and March 1991. This one has an Altered Beast strategy guide, which might be the most unnecessary thing in the world. Power up! And I have one just called Video Games. There's a cool Mortal Kombat section, but the pages are loose. And I have issues of Sunsoft Game Time News. This would have been the late 80s, I believe. I was a big fan of Blaster Master, so I ended up subscribing to this little newsletter of theirs. It's only a few pages long, each issue. These aren't my originals, though. I ended up buying these off someone on eBay, maybe about 5 years ago or something. And here's PSM, which was later renamed to PlayStation The Official Magazine, and that's because Sony bought them out. These range from 2003 to 2008. Then we have Game Players magazine, which was later renamed to Ultra Game Players. And then it was renamed again to Game Buyer. This is the 4th issue ever, and it's from 1989. I remember back then thinking that the pictures on the inside seemed a little bit washed out compared to other magazines at the time. I don't know if you can tell, but it seems like they didn't have as good equipment as the other magazines. They eventually overcame that, and the pictures got a lot better, and the magazine got a lot better. These Ultra Game Players ones are from 1996 and 1997, and the Game Buyer ones are from 1998. You can see at that time they went with the microscopic font like the other magazines at the time. Also within all these magazines is a Prima Symphony of the Night walkthrough. And then this more strategies for Nintendo games spiral book. And At the time, people were just clamoring for information about these games. That's why this stuff sold. We got Mortal Kombat 3 Official Arcade Secrets. I think I bought this because at the time, me and my friends were going to the arcades a lot, and we were playing quite a bit of the Mortal Kombat games. Here's a guide for the Super Game Boy. I can't remember if this came with Nintendo Power, or maybe it came with the Super Game Boy accessory. And then this, the official Nintendo Player's Guide. This is from the late 80s, I believe. The rather early days of the NES. I looked at this thing every day during those years. Even for the games that I don't have, because it was just so well designed. This is a very interesting stack. I think a lot of these were inserts that were within the other magazines, in particular EGM. Sometimes they were paid advertisements. Like this looks like an advertisement for EA. But there would also be strategy guides. I think this one came with GameCube that showed all the Street Fighter II moves, because that was the hot game at the time. And they had several of those inserts, as you can see. But what's really cool is this Electronics Boutique catalog. And you can see in there prices of the games at the time. And it might surprise people to learn how expensive they were at that time. Look at the price of some of the Super Nintendo games. Lagoon, $63. ActRaiser, $63. Final Fantasy II was $69. I don't know what that would be in today's funds, but it'd be quite high. I might do a whole video on this catalog in the future because it has so much to reveal. There's also a lot of fold-out posters and... oh, what is this? I don't even think this is a poster. I think it's just some kind of weird foldable guidebook or something. Here's another Electronics Boutique catalog. Oh, look, they got the Tiger Electronics handhelds. 1995 Video Game Preview Guide. Here's a poster with Anakin. The kid Anakin. Yippee! And then they sometimes had these supplements that were tailored toward one company, like Sega Force. I think at this time EGM was testing to see if they can make Sega Force its own magazine, so they were including it within the regular EGM and just seeing what the reaction was. Illusion of Gaia. A little fold-out advertisement. And it has a coupon for $10 off the game. Expires January 31st, 1995. A Jaguar guide. EGM's Guide to Role-Playing and Adventure Games. There was just so much stuff back then. Now this would have been very useful for me, a Mario 64 Blowout Strategy Guide. Hey Ma! It shows how to jump! EGM had a spin-off magazine called EGM2. It was more tailored to kids. They would later rename themselves ExpertGamer, and then they renamed themselves again GameNow. So I don't know why they changed the name so many times. They then changed the name to EGM3, then EGM Resurrection, then EGM vs. Predator, then Prometheus. Here's the issue where they did the first name change. It says EGM2, but then if you flip this open, it says ExpertGamer, so they were letting people know the name had changed. And that was August 1998. T-Rex wanted to be in the video, so here he is. T-Rex. Hi. Say hi to the audience. Say hi. He doesn't talk much. Okay, so here's my Electronic Gaming Monthly, and this stack contains the first year or so. This, I believe, is the first issue ever, and it was one that I bought myself, and at some point the cover ripped off. A long time ago I put masking tape to hold it, and that masking tape is aging. This is March 1989. I instantly fell in love with this magazine. One of the things I like about EGM is the critical reviews, and they were doing it from issue 1. Right here, they didn't have a number system yet. They would say hit and direct hit. You can see this is a review of Life Force, direct hit, which I 100% agree with even to this day. But this first issue had a lot of NES games in it. These magazines were just riding the popularity of the NES at the time, and it was really starting to flare up. They also had these weird issues that I don't know if it even counts toward the whole set or not, but this is called Top Score. This just basically had secret codes in it. Or you can use save states. You can see right here I'm missing the cover, but this is another early issue, and it had some Master System things. Look at that beautiful advertisement for Phantasy Star. This is the issue where it really started to take off. I'm not sure why I have these pages marked, but this is where they had the rating scale between 1 and 10. Every issue, they would critically rate these games. They guided a bunch of my buying decisions over the years. They weren't always correct, but for the most part, they were very dependable, especially if you had 4 different people rating. It was 4 different people giving it a rating between 1 and 10. Now, people will always be saying, oh, it's rigged, they're pro Nintendo, they're pro Sega, or whatever. People were always having allegations of bias. And if you read their letters to the editor in some of these issues, there were people back then that were saying that, and there's still people saying that today. Here's Fabio on the cover. This is a famous one. In terms of collectability and value, these early ones are worth a little bit. Probably not my damaged ones. There is a market for video game magazines. Some of these issues were really thick, especially December 1993. This is a behemoth of an issue. I don't know if you can see how thick that is. 384 pages long. That is huge for a magazine. This one is about 390 pages long. This time, it's also from December, but from 1994. I guess the idea is that for Christmas season, there was a lot more news to put in these. And also, there was a lot more opportunities for them to sell advertising space with the holidays coming up, you know. You see here, the rating system became a little bit more vivid. What do I get out of reading gaming magazines today? I do enjoy reading the ratings that they had back then to see if they've held up. I also enjoy reading about games that never actually came out. I enjoy looking at the advertising at the time, the letters to the editor. Each one is just basically a doorway to that time period. You can see what people were thinking about back then, during the 16-bit wars and stuff like that. At one point a few years ago, I read every issue of EGM. Sorry ladies, I'm already taken. And I just learned a lot about the industry through that. I know a lot of information is available online, and you can actually get scans of all these magazines online for free. But it's nice to sit down and just read a paper magazine in your hands and turn off all the screens. All these right here are duplicates. And even some of those are some of the older issues. I see issue 56 over there. And once again, that's because I absorbed a lot of different people's collections. I even have one that's unopened, one of the more recent issues from 2014. There are people like me that collect these magazines. I think there are a lot of people who remember reading these when they were growing up, and they just want to read through them again. So how much is all this worth if I were to just sell it as one big group? I poked around eBay today and just looked at some of the prices. I estimate it's probably around $1,000, but there is a substantial shipping cost of sending all these magazines because they're so heavy. It might be better to sell them locally on Craigslist, or you can do a pickup only sale on eBay. So I heard you want to buy the collection. Oh no, I'm not going to help you put them in the pickup truck. I am thinking about selling them, because this is just a lot to store. You saw how much space it was taken up in the closets, and I'm into so many other things video game related. This just seems like overkill. I'll just put them on the sidewalk and you can load them. Yeah, I know it's raining, but you know, safety reasons. I've already read through all the EGMs, and I don't know if I'll ever get around to reading through the other ones, but we'll see how it goes. I might hold on to them a while longer. I would like to store them in my basement, but I'm afraid of moisture damage or of the basement flooding, so tell me, what magazines did you guys grow up reading? And do you still read them today? If you'd like to watch another video, watch this one where I install 3 additional game systems to my gaming setup. The link to the video is on the screen right there. May your games make you happy and smart, and may people respect you for playing them. So long, everybody.
What is a man?